Have you ever felt as though you have sown every effort, yet the results still elude you? Did you know that the key to turning the seemingly impossible into reality lies within the heart of your gratitude? In this video, you will uncover a 16-step journey of profound power where every word you speak, every image you hold, and every thought you entertain becomes an instrument of life transformation. From identifying the right desire, practicing deep gratitude, releasing anxiety, surrendering with trust, to engaging in sacred nighttime rituals of imagination, you will learn how to connect with infinite intelligence, unlocking the gates to success, radiant health, joy, and lasting prosperity. This is not theory. It is a living method, proven by practice and affirmed by real results. The key of creative gratitude opens every door, not merely a gesture of politeness, but a method for connecting the conscious mind with infinite power. Gratitude is an invisible key, more radiant than any material treasure, unlocking not just one door, but all the doors that once appeared firmly shut before our eyes. People often think of gratitude as a social habit, a polite manner to demonstrate civility, but in the deeper layers of the soul, gratitude is not a forced thank you. It is a divine current that links your limited consciousness with unlimited strength, a universal law that guides every thought into the orbit of creation. When you are truly grateful, you are not merely acknowledging a received favor. You are planting a signal into your subconscious, and the loyal subconscious amplifies that signal into tangible life experiences. Gratitude is the spiritual climate in which the seeds of thought germinate most rapidly. Observe a person who constantly lives in complaint and comparison. Each morning they wake up with a restless heart, look in the mirror, and see only fatigue. Step outside and encounter only obstacles. They repeat negative affirmations without realizing it. I have nothing. I am tired. I am helpless. And the subconscious listens to every word and constructs a life that mirrors exactly what was sown. In contrast, a grateful soul awakens with a simple whisper, "Thank you for another day of life. Thank you for the new opportunities opening up." Just a small shift in the spiritual climate is enough to redirect the course of the entire day. For when you are grateful, you are adjusting your frequency to align with goodness, and that goodness begins to flow through every event, every person, every opportunity you encounter. Creative gratitude does not wait for visible results to express thanks. It gives thanks in advance, when nothing yet seems present. This very act is the highest proof of faith. The farmer who sows his seed does not weep over an empty field. He knows that in the silence of the earth, the seed is sprouting. So too is the practitioner of gratitude. When you give thanks for something unseen, you affirm that it already exists in the invisible realm, and the subconscious will begin its work of bringing it into form. This is the secret applied by spiritual masters, prophets, and ordinary people who have changed their destiny. Throughout history, countless individuals have risen from crisis, illness, or poverty through one powerful practice, the cultivation of unwavering gratitude. A sick person, instead of sinking in fear, closes their eyes each night and gives thanks for the health flowing through every cell. An unemployed person, rather than complaining, sits down and writes, "Thank you for the beautiful job that has come to me." A worried mother, instead of being haunted by dark scenarios, writes in her journal each evening, "Thank you, Father, for my child is healthy and protected." And in a short time, they witness transformation, often through unforeseen paths. Gratitude is the law of resonance. When you say thank you, you declare to the universe that you have already received. The subconscious which does not distinguish between real or imagined, accepts that declaration as command and begins arranging conditions for its fulfillment. Just as a musical instrument vibrates to sound, the outer world vibrates to the gratitude within you. And the more you maintain that climate, the more wonders will arrive. You can see this most clearly in the smallest things. Thank you for the meal on the table. Thank you for the cool breeze. Thank you for a stranger's smile in the marketplace. Each small thank you is a ray of light, and many rays together create a dawn that illuminates your life. What makes gratitude a special key is its power to break the cycle of fear. Fear always asks, what if I don't have it? Gratitude affirms, I already do. Fear closes doors. Gratitude opens them. Fear contracts the mind. Gratitude expands the soul. In the moment you give thanks, you cannot complain or tremble, for the two states cannot coexist. This is why gratitude is the strongest antibody against negative energy. The inner world determines the outer world. Gratitude is the fastest way to adjust the inner world. When the mind is trained to find reasons to be grateful in every circumstance, the subconscious receives the command that life is abundant and begins to restructure your experience to reflect that abundance. Try it now. Choose a problem you're facing, and instead of complaining, close your eyes and say, thank you for the solution that is already here. Thank you for the good that is unfolding. The moment you say it, you will feel a lightness within, and that very lightness is the evidence that the door is opened. Creative gratitude is also the art of mastering time. Humans often regret the past or worry about the future, but gratitude brings all energy back to the present moment, the only place where true power resides. In that moment, you are connected to the law of goodness, and the law of goodness never fails. Every thank you in the now is a brick that builds the bridge from your present condition to the result you desire tomorrow. You may ask, how can I give thanks when I see no change? The answer is, it is through gratitude that change begins. Remember, the seed sprouts in the dark soil before the green shoot appears. Do not demand proof before sowing the seed. Sow with faith, and the proof will come. Each time you give thanks, you are watering the seed. You are calling in the harvest. Try this simple ritual each morning when you open your eyes. Before touching your phone, whisper 3 thank yous. Each night before sleep, write down 3 things you are grateful for, even if there are things you are still waiting for. Make this a habit, and you will see that miracles are no longer distant. One day you will realize it was the climate of gratitude that turned you from a person full of worry into one full of peace, from someone who lacked into someone who overflows. This key has always been in your hand. You do not need to buy it or ask for it from anyone. You only need to use it. It does not wear out. It does not lose value. The more you use it, the more it shines. Each time you turn the key of gratitude, a door in your life opens. Sometimes it is the door of opportunity, sometimes the door of healing, sometimes the door of a new relationship, and then you will understand no door remains shut forever before a soul that knows how to be grateful. The problem is only a surface illusion, and the law of good is always in motion. Hardship is nothing but a passing cloud before the radiance of truth. Whatever problem you are facing, no matter how overwhelming it may seem, is in reality but a mist drifting across the sky of consciousness. Mist cannot block the sun. If you simply wait a while, the light will shine through once again. In the same way, the law of good in the universe never ceases to operate, never bound by circumstances, never intimidated by adversity. What you call difficulty is merely the faint shadow of a mistaken thought. When the mind agrees with that shadow, you believe it is real, but the moment you turn your vision back to truth, you realize it never had any power over you. Consider this. You are walking along the road, and dark clouds gather. You believe a storm is coming. You feel fear. You reach for your umbrella. You see the sky growing dim, but then the clouds pass and sunlight returns. Was that fear real? Or was it simply your reaction to a fleeting illusion? Life's challenges are just like that. Debt, illness, heartbreak, loneliness, all are clouds of the mind. When you recognize that the law of good continues to shine, you no longer fear the dark clouds. You understand that the light never fades. It is only momentarily obscured. The eternal truth is this: there is only one power in the universe, the power of good, of love, of life. No force can stand against the law of good. What we call evil or failure is merely inverted perception, a shadow cast by a mind turned away from the light. When you understand this, fear has no hold on you, because you know its roots are not real. It cannot sustain itself. It lives only through the belief you place in it. What matters is what you choose to nourish. If you feed fear, you are breathing life into darkness. If you affirm the power of good, you are opening the floodgates to light. The outer world reflects the inner world, and your inner world holds the authority to determine whether you see light or shadow. When Joseph Murphy said the problem is only on the surface, he wanted you to remember that the solution has always been within you, ever present in the depths of your subconscious, waiting only for your agreement with truth to be revealed. A woman once felt hopeless in her marriage. She believed love was dead, that only coldness and distance remained. One day she visited a minister, and he said to her only one thing: the love of God has never been absent, only your mind turned away. When she began each day quietly giving thanks for the harmony already present, something miraculous occurred. Her husband changed, her home rediscovered peace. That change did not come from the outside, but from a shift in her own awareness. It was proof that the problem was only a layer of fog. When the mind returns to the law of good, the clouds dissolve and the sky clears. This brings me to a question for you, the one who is listening. What cloud are you allowing to cover your sky today? Is it a fear of finances, a wound in your relationship, or anxiety about your health? Can you see that when you look directly at that cloud, it has no power beyond the belief you give it? And if, in this very moment, you withdraw that belief and turn your mind toward truth, the cloud will vanish on its own. I invite you to pause for a moment and answer this question silently in your heart. Your presence here, your listening, is proof that you long to step out of the shadow. And I want to thank you. Thank you for giving your precious time to open your heart to these truths. Your listening is not passive. It is the first act of turning. It is evidence that you are ready for the law of good to operate fully in your life. Difficulty has no substance. It is not a solid wall. It is a curtain of smoke. The more you stare at the smoke, the denser it seems. But when you choose to see through it, you will find that nothing stands in the way of the light. The law of good is an eternal current. It never sleeps, never stops. No matter your present condition, it is still at work. The question is, are you tuning your mind to its frequency? So what must you do? Begin by gently but firmly denying the power of difficulty. Whenever a negative thought arises, say within, this has no power over me. The law of good is acting right now. Then take a deep breath. Allow gratitude to flood your being, and you will feel the shift begin. A single ray of light is enough to break the night. A single affirmation is enough to open the door. All you need to do is agree with the light. Remember, the sun does not cease to shine because clouds cover it. Goodness is the same. It never stops flowing just because you are passing through a season of testing. Do not be deceived by appearances. Do not let the illusion of the problem become truth in your mind. Look beyond it, and you will see the wholeness of truth awaiting you. And when you hold to that, the problem dissolves, the solution reveals itself, and your life is illuminated once more by the undying radiance of the law of good. Deny the power of the problem and affirm the absolute power of good, replacing complaint with trust and gratitude. Every difficulty exists only because your mind has granted it power. A shadow cannot exist on its own. It appears only when light is obstructed. Life's problems are the same. They have no substance. They are illusions sustained by your belief in them. When you repeatedly speak of your problems, you are breathing life into that illusion, placing it at the center of your awareness. But the moment you refuse, the moment you deny the power of the problem, and instead affirm the presence and absolute strength of goodness, you immediately shift the entire current of your consciousness. And when that current shifts, your entire life begins to change. People often assume that denying a problem is avoiding reality. But the truth is the opposite. Denying the power of the problem does not mean closing your eyes and pretending it does not exist. It means refusing to acknowledge it as an independent force. The only true reality is the law of good, the principle of life, of divine order. When you affirm that you are not ignoring your circumstances, you are seeing through them, perceiving the truth hidden behind the fog, just as a child sees a shadow on the wall and mistakes it for a monster. But an adult knows it is only a projection without substance. So too are your problems, merely shadows cast by misaligned thoughts. Joseph Murphy once told the story of a man who was drowning in debt and despair. Every day he complained, lamented, and groaned. His debt grew and opportunities faded. But when he was guided to stop feeding the problem and instead, whenever anxiety arose, to affirm the law of good is now at work. All is being divinely resolved. The tide began to turn, not because of some outside miracle, but because his mind changed frequency. And when the mind changes, the subconscious receives a new command, and external conditions begin to reflect that command. You will see this most clearly in how words operate. Complaining is like watering weeds. The more you water, the more they overgrow. Words of trust and gratitude are like sunlight upon good seeds, causing them to sprout and multiply. When you say, I give thanks that the solution is already here, your subconscious registers it as a directive. It begins adjusting energy flows, linking opportunities, drawing in people, and bringing the solution from the invisible to the visible. This is not abstract theory. It is a law like gravity. And it works whether you believe it or not. To understand the power of affirmation, recall the words of the Psalms. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. This is not mere poetry. It is a denial of the power of darkness and an affirmation of the unchanging presence of light. When you say to your problem, you have no power over me, you are not being weak. You are standing in the ranks of those who know there is only one true reality, and it is goodness. Let your mind become a strict gatekeeper. When a negative thought arises, you do not need to argue with it or fight it. Simply and firmly deny it. I do not acknowledge you. The law of good is acting right now. Then immediately replace it with gratitude. Thank you, Father, that all things are resolved in perfect order. Each repetition deepens a new groove in your subconscious, and when the groove becomes deep enough, it becomes the default pathway where your mind returns in every situation. There is a subtle law. A problem is only strong when you talk about it. Every time you complain, you reaffirm its power. Every time you rehearse your difficulty, you testify on its behalf and tie it more tightly to your life. But each time you deny it and affirm the power of good, you reclaim your energy, you sever the cord that feeds it, and the problem begins to dissolve like a flame deprived of oxygen. It will fade away. Here is another testimony. A woman was diagnosed with what was deemed a terminal illness. She obsessed over the diagnosis, constantly saying, "I am very ill. There is no more hope." But after being guided, she changed her words. Each day she whispered, "I give thanks for the perfect health flowing in me. I trust in the life renewing every cell." Within months, not only had her spirit changed, but her body began to recover. The doctors were astonished, but she knew it was the power of denying the illness and affirming the life within. When you practice this, remember, you do not need to shout or struggle. All that is needed is quiet, unwavering persistence. Power lies not in noise, but in silent, steadfast faith. Every denial is a cut at the root of the problem. Every affirmation of good is a new seed sown into fertile ground. Time will prove it. The earth never fails a faithful seed. The outer world will always fluctuate, sometimes bright, sometimes dark, sometimes smooth, sometimes testing, but the law of good never fluctuates. It flows like an underground stream, waiting only for you to dig in the right place so it may rise. Digging in the right place means denying the power of all that contradicts and affirming the unchanging presence of good while maintaining gratitude like an open sky. No one can do this for you because you alone give or withdraw power. Each day ask yourself, what am I giving power to today? Is it fear or trust, complaint or gratitude? Your answer determines the landscape of your mind, and the landscape of your mind shapes the landscape of your life. The problem never has real substance. It only borrows your energy to exist. When you stop supplying that energy, it fades away. This truth sets you free from chains and places in your hand, the rod of authority. And each time you use that rod, by denying the power of the problem and affirming the power of good, you carve into your subconscious a new order, and that order will reflect outward in the form of health, abundance, peace, and joy. The five-step framework is wrapped in an atmosphere of gratitude. Before results appear, every transformation in life can be guided by a formula. So simple, it seems unbelievable. And yet it is precisely this simplicity that makes it an unchanging law. It is the five-step framework. Identify the right desire, release anxiety to dwell in peace, serenato, infinite intelligence, and finally, wait for the sign and act in harmony with it. The core does not lie in complexity, but in the atmosphere that surrounds it all, and that is gratitude. Gratitude before the result is seen is the strongest affirmation that you trust the law of good, that you place your faith in a reality beyond the senses. This very atmosphere turns the 5 steps from a theory into a creative ritual, opening the way for solutions to be revealed. The first step is to clearly define what you desire. The subconscious does not respond to vagueness. It needs a precise blueprint. You cannot merely say, "I want happiness," because that word is too abstract to form a clear mental picture. Define your desire in positive language and in the present tense. I give thanks that I now live in a bright, harmonious home, abundant for my family, I give thanks for the wonderful job, now present, suited to my abilities and bringing joy. The clearer your affirmation, the easier it is for the subconscious to begin construction. The second step is to release anxiety. Many people plant the seed of desire, but then disturb the soil with fear, preventing the seed from sprouting. Anxiety is the greatest obstacle, blocking the flow of good. Therefore, a climate of peace is needed to allow the solution to take root. Just 1 minute of stillness, breathing, and affirming, the peace of God now governs my mind, is enough to restore order to the soul. In that state, the subconscious begins its work like a seed sprouting in the quiet of the earth. The third step is surrender. This is where you learn to lay down the burden and allow infinite intelligence to take over. Many fail because they plant the seed and then dig it up to see if it has sprouted. They check doubt and analyze which blocks the current. Surrender means you say to yourself, I give thanks, Father, that this is already done, and I place it in your hands. In that moment, you shift from control to cooperation, and the law of good can operate freely. The final step is to wait for the sign and obey it. The sign rarely arrives with noise. It often comes as a sudden thought, a quiet prompting, a gentle dream, or an unexpected meeting. A grateful person always sees the sign because they keep their mind open and at peace. When the sign appears, act simply and naturally, without urgency or show. That gentle obedience is what opens the door for the full revelation of the solution. All 4 steps must be enveloped by one single atmosphere, and that is gratitude. Without gratitude, the steps are lifeless procedures. But when infused with gratitude, they become a continuous current. Gratitude before seeing the result is the living expression of faith, the confirmation that the solution already exists in the invisible realm and is only waiting for the right moment to appear. The words of thanks serve as a seal on the seed, protecting it from the storms of doubt and fear. Remember, miracles do not always appear instantly. Often you must persevere, for the seed needs time to germinate, to grow, and to bear fruit. But if you maintain the climate of gratitude, you keep the lamp burning in the night, and morning will surely come. When you understand this 5-step framework, you no longer feel helpless before problems. You know with certainty that any situation can be transformed. Let me ask you something so that you may fully step into this message. Are you ready to apply this 5-step framework to your own situation? Pause for a moment and answer honestly in your heart. If the answer is yes, leave a comment, I am ready to change, or simply type the number 1, so I know you are truly entering into this process with me. And I want to thank you because your presence here, your participation through affirmation, is the first step of transformation. The 5-step framework is not a fixed formula. It is a training ground. Each time you practice it, your faith deepens. Your mind becomes accustomed to the new climate, and your subconscious receives its command with greater clarity. The miracle does not come from straining effort, but from gentle agreement with truth. And when you sustain the atmosphere of gratitude around it, what you affirm becomes your lived experience. Naturally, steadily, and surely. Step 1, define the right desire using positive, present tense language and a spirit of alignment with the greater good. Every great structure begins with a blueprint. An architect cannot raise a building without a clear design, and an artist cannot complete a painting without a mental image. Likewise, the subconscious cannot construct a vague dream. It requires precise, clear, and rightful direction. This is why the very first step in the method is to define your desire using positive language in the present tense and with a spirit of harmony with the greater good. When you define your desire accurately, you are handing the subconscious a precise blueprint, and it will begin constructing the outcome exactly according to that pattern. A common mistake people make is to beg in vagueness. Many say, I want happiness, I want to escape suffering, I want to worry less. These words offer no clear image. They reflect lack, and the subconscious cannot work with lack. It needs a positive, affirmative instruction. Instead of saying, I want to escape poverty, say, I give thanks that abundance is now present in my life. Instead of pleading to be free from illness, affirm, I give thanks that perfect health now fills every cell of my body. The language you use is the signal you send into the subconscious, and the loyal subconscious will shape reality according to that signal. Positive language carries a distinct energy. When you affirm using clear, bright words in the present tense, you are planting into the subconscious a belief that it is already true. And the subconscious does not distinguish between truth or fiction. It only receives commands. Therefore, when you say, I am now living in a harmonious, radiant, sunlit home, the subconscious accepts that image as reality and begins arranging external conditions to reflect it. This is why many people, after changing their language and affirmations, begin to see major shifts in their circumstances within a short time. Another essential element is the spirit of serving the greater good. A rightful desire is never rooted in selfishness or harm to others. If your desire exists merely to prove something or to win over someone, then the seed contains its own poison, and the subconscious cannot bring it to a healthy result. A rightful desire always carries the signature of love, harmony, and mutual benefit. When you wish for a new job, affirm that this job brings blessings to yourself and contributes to others. When you seek prosperity, affirm that your abundance is a channel of good, benefiting your family, your community, and those who walk beside you. This spirit aligns your desire with the eternal current of goodness. And when there is alignment, the subconscious can operate smoothly and effortlessly. Joseph Murphy often spoke of the concept of a spiritual prototype, a way of clearly shaping desire. It involves writing down in simple, affirmative, present tense language a statement that describes what you desire as already fulfilled. This becomes the blueprint submitted to the subconscious. One woman was struggling with a poor living environment and rental problems. Instead of continuing to complain, she was guided to write this affirmation, I give thanks that I now live in a spacious, bright, harmonious home for my family, and God opens the perfect way. She repeated it every evening with calmness, without rush or tension. Within a short time, an unexpected opportunity appeared, leading her to a home even better than she had imagined. This was not a random miracle, but the natural result of a clearly drawn plan being built by the subconscious. When defining your desire, one principle must be remembered. Inner peace is the seal of a rightful desire. If you affirm something but feel anxious, restless, or conflicted, it is a sign that the desire is not yet pure or aligned with the greater good. Adjust your statement until the affirmation brings serenity to your heart. That serenity is proof that the desire is in the right direction, that it originates from a deep layer of truth rather than shallow craving. To define your desire is also to close the door on negative phrasing. If you say, I do not want to be poor anymore, the subconscious hears the word poor and continues to reproduce it. Learn to express through the presence of what you desire, not the absence of what you fear. Do not say, I want to be free from illness. Say, I give thanks for perfect health. Do not say, I want less anxiety. Say, I give thanks for a peaceful mind. The law of mind does not register negation. It only registers the image you present. Therefore, be wise in language and consistent in affirmation. A rightful desire does not need to be long. It only needs to be short, clear, and charged with positive energy. A single strong affirmation can shift your entire inner climate, and when you repeat it in a state of gratitude, you are planting the seed into the most fertile soil of the subconscious. What is needed is not to constantly change your desire, but to stay faithful to the design you have chosen, giving it time to take root, grow, and bloom. To define the right desire is the beginning, but it is also the foundation. Without a firm foundation, no house can stand. When you clarify your desire using positive, present tense language and in a spirit of alignment with goodness, you have laid a solid foundation for the entire method. The subconscious will build upon that foundation, and you will soon discover that what you write down today will become your lived experience tomorrow. Step 2, tools of practice. The spiritual prototype. Peace is a sign of alignment, and the desire journal. When an architect draws a blueprint, every line has a purpose, for even the smallest deviation could collapse the entire structure. Your subconscious operates in exactly the same way. It is a loyal worker that only builds according to the blueprint you hand it. That is why the second step of the method is to use specific tools to shape and stabilize the spiritual design, making it clear, consistent, and creatively empowered. These tools are the spiritual prototype and the desire journal. This is not a writing exercise, but an act of dedication, transforming your desire into words and impressing it upon the deeper levels of your mind. The spiritual prototype is a short, positive, present tense affirmation that describes your desire as already fulfilled. For example, instead of writing, I want to be free from illness, you write, I give thanks that perfect health now fills my body. Instead of writing, I don't want to be in debt, you write, I give thanks that abundance is present in my life. This affirmation becomes the clear blueprint, the signal sent to the subconscious, and the subconscious will build according to it. What matters is that you avoid negative phrasing. Do not focus on lack, but affirm only the presence of good. Writing your spiritual prototype also helps eliminate vagueness in your desire. Many claim to want happiness, but when asked what happiness means, they cannot describe it. The spiritual prototype forces you to define your dream in clear images and words. When you write, you are mapping the mental road to your desired experience. The subconscious does not read theory. It reads images and affirmations. Once the image is imprinted, it will seek to reflect it in your outer world. But how can you know whether your affirmation is aligned? The sign is inner peace. Peace is the seal of truth. If, after writing and repeating your affirmation, you feel lightness and calm in your heart, that is a sign you have chosen the right desire and expressed it correctly. If you feel restless, anxious, or internally conflicted, that means the desire is not yet purified, perhaps rooted in fear or ego. Adjust your words until the affirmation brings peace. That peace is the proof that your desire has entered the stream of the law of good. For example, someone may write, I want a high-paying job, but then feels anxious fearing that such a job might take time away from their family. This shows the affirmation is not fully aligned. After refinement, the person writes, I give thanks for the perfect job, now present, suited to my abilities, bringing joy and in harmony with my family life. When rereading it, they feel peace. That is the sign. The desire is now aligned with truth. And the subconscious is ready to act. Beyond the spiritual prototype, you need a long-term companion tool. The Desire Journal. Dedicate one notebook for this sole purpose. Each day, write down your affirmations in clear present tense language, accompanied by gratitude. This habit of daily repetition engraves deep grooves into the subconscious. Just as a steady stream can smooth stone, the lines you write each day imprint new images into your mind and eventually reshape your entire life. In this notebook, you need not write many things at once. Choose one or two key desires and remain consistent. When you write, do so with focus, not haste or carelessness. Let each word become a prayer, each sentence a seed, and every time you close the journal, silently give thanks that your desire is already fulfilled in the invisible realm. Give thanks that the seed is planted in fertile soil. Give thanks that the harvest is drawing near. There is a truth you must remember. The subconscious never rejects. It only builds. If you hand it a vague design, it will construct a vague result. If you hand it a clear design, it will manifest a clear outcome. And if you give it a positive blueprint aligned with goodness, it will construct a life full of blessings. This is why writing your spiritual prototype and maintaining a desire journal are indispensable steps. They transform yearning into command, abstraction into clarity, and dreams into precise images. And always remember, this is not merely about writing on paper, but about building a sacred space within. This is the power of the voice within, not just a voice you hear, but a place you return to each time you open your journal and read your affirmation. You are returning to that place where your soul finds rest, where your faith is strengthened, and where your inner voice is in harmony with the law of good. Practicing this step requires patience, but the reward is certain. When you persist in writing, repeating, maintaining peace and gratitude, you will witness the day when your life begins to shift, not through dramatic upheaval, but through the natural unfolding of opportunities, relationships, and open doors. And in that moment, you will understand that what you write in your journal today will become the reality you live tomorrow. Step 3, releasing anxiety through sacred stillness. Breath of prayer, the Psalms, and replacing worry with gratitude. Anxiety is the silent thief of the mind. It is like static noise that distorts the music that was once pure, like dust clouding a mirror and blurring the true reflection. The subconscious can only receive and construct a blueprint when the mental atmosphere is clear and still. If the mind is constantly agitated, fearful, and doubtful, even a planted seed struggles to take root. That is why the third step of the method is to release anxiety and establish a climate of peace. Only in such a climate can affirmations gain power, images take root, and the law of good operate in its fullness. The first tool for dissolving anxiety is a moment of stillness. Each day, simply give yourself 1 minute to sit in silence, close your eyes, step away from the noise, and allow the mind to stop. 1 single minute, practiced consistently, is like a gentle drop of water that cools the entire lake. In that moment, you may silently affirm, "The peace of God now governs my mind." As these words echo within, you will feel tension begin to melt, like a windless lake settling into calm, with every ripple slowing and then disappearing. Stillness is the resting breath of the soul, the space where you return to the source of unchanging strength. The second tool is the breath of prayer. Breath is the fundamental rhythm of life, and when combined with prayer, it becomes a stream that cleanses the mind. Breathe in deeply and whisper within, you receive peace. Then breathe out and say, I release anxiety. Repeat this rhythm, and you will feel the mind become lighter, the body relaxes, the heartbeat steadies, and the soul is comforted. This is not merely a breathing technique, but a sacred offering where you surrender your worries to a higher power in exchange for inner peace. The third tool is the reading of Psalms. These words have echoed through the centuries as healing balm for those gripped by fear. When you slowly read the words, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, your mind is lifted from the loop of worry and led into a pasture of safety. When you recite quietly, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Fear dissolves into the presence of eternal love. The Psalms are not merely literature. They are maps that lead the mind from shadow into light. Yet it is not enough to merely cast out anxiety. You must replace it with a new atmosphere. Here, gratitude is the most powerful force. Whenever worry arises, instead of fighting it, gently say within, I give thanks for the peace that is already here. I give thanks that the solution is drawing near. I give thanks that all is unfolding in divine order. This replacement redirects the current of the mind. Anxiety pulls you into the haze of a future unknown. Gratitude returns you to the solid ground of the present. You cannot be grateful and anxious at the same time, for the two states cannot coexist. A concrete example, a woman suffered from chronic insomnia due to worry about her children. Each night she imagined worst-case scenarios and found no rest. But when she was guided to practice breath of prayer and read the Psalms, she began her nights by breathing in deeply, whispering, I receive peace, and breathing out, I release anxiety. Then she would slowly read, I will lie down and sleep in peace, for you alone. Lord, make me dwell in safety. Within weeks, her sleep returned and anxiety no longer ruled her nights. This was not a random miracle, but the inevitable result of replacing worry with peace and gratitude. In practice, remember that consistency is more powerful than duration. 1 minute of stillness practiced daily will have deeper effects than an hour done irregularly. One breath of prayer in a moment of stress is stronger than hundreds of complaints. One psalm spoken with faith penetrates more deeply than pages read without focus. What matters is not the quantity, but the sincerity and consistency of your practice. Anxiety does not vanish in a day because the mind is accustomed to the habit of fear. But each time you replace it with gratitude, you carve a new path into the subconscious. Slowly, the old path of worry becomes abandoned, overgrown with weeds, while the new path of peace becomes the natural route. This is the power of patient practice. When the mind abides in peace, the subconscious works freely, unburdened by fear. Peace is the fertile soil in which the seed of desire takes root and grows. You do not need to know how or when. You only need to keep your soul in peace and gratitude, and the solution will surely appear. Just as a seed germinates in the darkness of the earth, though you cannot see the process, it is unfolding. Releasing anxiety is not only a remedy, it is a prevention. When you make peace a daily climate, anxiety has no soil in which to root. You walk through life as one who carries light, and even when facing shadows, you retain stillness within. This is the sign of a mind that has learned to trust the law of good, that has trained itself to replace anxiety with gratitude. Let stillness become a ritual, breath of prayer, a rhythm, psalms a song, and gratitude a natural reflex. Then you will see that anxiety is no longer a burden, but simply an opportunity to return to peace. And in that peace, the law of good flows without resistance, bringing solutions from the invisible into the visible, from desire into reality. Step 4, surrender and let God act. Release force control and rest in perfect divine order. There is a boundary that human effort cannot cross. You may plant the seed, water the soil, and prepare the ground, but you cannot force the seed to sprout. At the exact moment you wish, life has its own rhythm, and every sprout unfolds according to a perfect order already established. This is why the 4th step of the method is surrender. Surrender does not mean giving up or shirking responsibility. It is the spiritual act of handing over the burden to infinite intelligence, trusting that this power knows how and when to bring forth the solution. Humans often carry the habit of forced control. They pray, then worry. They affirm, then doubt. They plant the seed, then dig it up to see if it has sprouted. This need to control stops the flow like a clenched fist that blocks the passage of water. The subconscious and the law of good operate silently in the invisible realm, and when you interfere with anxiety or impatience, you disconnect from the process. Surrender means knowing how to take your hand away, allowing the current to move forward, and letting the higher power complete its work. When you surrender, you silently whisper, "Father, I place this in your hands." It is not an empty phrase, but a real decision to lay the burden down. In that moment, you step out of the cycle of calculation and fear. You enter the space of rest. And it is precisely in that rest that the invisible power begins to work, just as the body heals itself while you sleep. Wounds close, blood flows, cells renew. You do not control each organ, yet your body knows what to do. Likewise, when you surrender, you trust that God is acting and that everything is moving into divine order. A businessman once came to Joseph Murphy in a state of despair. He had tried everything to save his company from bankruptcy, but the more he worried, the worse things became. He confessed that he prayed daily but still held doubt in his heart. Murphy guided him to write and repeat one simple affirmation before sleep. "I give thanks that this matter is now completed in divine order. I place it into your hands." Within a few weeks, unexpected opportunities arose. His debt was restructured, and the business began to recover. The change did not begin on the outside. It began with the inner decision to stop forced control and give authority to the law of good. Surrender is an act of faith. You may not see the solution yet, but you believe it is already there. You do not know how, but you trust that infinite intelligence knows far better than you. When you surrender, you choose trust over fear, rest over strain, and it is that very rest which becomes the fertile ground for solutions to arise with ease. Many mistake surrender for passivity. They think to surrender is to do nothing, but in truth, surrender requires that you do your part with dedication and leave the outcome to the infinite. The farmer still tills the soil, sows the seed, waters the land, but he cannot force the rain to fall on the day he desires. He trusts that the harvest will follow the natural rhythm. Likewise, you still take the necessary steps in life. You still fulfill your duties with sincerity, but you let go of the obsession with results. You no longer demand that things unfold your way and on your timeline. In the moment you say, I give this to you. You free yourself from the weight of burden. You will feel your mind grow lighter, your breath deepen, your heart beat with ease. That peace is the proof you have entered the realm of surrender. From that place, you will begin to notice subtle shifts, worries fading, new ideas emerging, unexpected doors opening. These are not coincidences. They are the work of the law of good, rearranging your external conditions to match the spiritual blueprint you have offered. There is a beautiful image in the Bible. The seed planted in the soil rises day and night. Though the sower knows not how, this is the mystery of surrender. You do not need to understand how the invisible works, only trust that it does. When you adopt the attitude of surrender, you become like the farmer who sleeps peacefully after a day's labor, trusting that the harvest is growing in the unseen, and so it is until the day comes when the stalk rises, the grain ripens, and the field yields its bounty. Surrender is also the medicine for a weary soul. So many are exhausted because they carry too many burdens, trying to control what lies beyond their reach. When you learn to surrender, you do not merely release the problem, you release yourself. You step out of the role of controller and return to the role of collaborator with the eternal order. This is true freedom, the freedom of a mind that knows everything is in God's hands. And God never fails. So let surrender become your daily ritual. Each morning, quietly say, Father, today I place all things in your hands. Each night before sleep, say, I give thanks that all is now in divine order. These words are like open hands, releasing the burden and receiving peace. As you do this, you will sleep more deeply, your mind will rest, and in the silence, solutions will be woven. Surrender is not something you do once, but a habit. Each time worry returns, remind yourself, this no longer belongs to me. It is in the hands of the Almighty. Then take a deep breath and allow gratitude to fill your heart. This is the complete circle. Affirm the good, release anxiety, surrender to God, and rest in perfect order. When this circle is complete, you are living in the current of the law of good, and all problems gradually dissolve in the light of resolution. Surrender is the art of trust, the path to peace, the key that unlocks the door to miracles. And when you truly learn how to surrender, you will discover that life, instead of being a burden to carry, becomes a journey of serenity, where you walk side by side with a boundless power that always knows how to return all things to perfect divine order. Step 5. Wait for the sign and obey it with simplicity. Measured by peace, timeliness, and the greater good for all, after planting the seed of desire, after maintaining peace, gratitude, and surrendering to infinite intelligence, what remains is not to force, but to wait in stillness and readiness. This waiting is not anxious, but trusting. And when the sign comes, all you need to do is follow it in simplicity. This is a step many overlook or misunderstand. They expect the sign to be dramatic, extraordinary, but in reality, divine guidance often comes in the most gentle ways. It may arrive as a sudden thought, a casual conversation, a book opening to a specific page, or a fleeting dream. What matters is not the form, but the atmosphere that accompanies it. There are 3 qualities by which a true sign can be recognized. First, peace. When a sign comes from infinite intelligence, it carries a calm clarity free of confusion. It does not push you with fear, nor urge you with restlessness. It is like a soft breeze carrying the scent of meadows, bringing ease to the soul. If a thought triggers panic or turmoil, it is not a sign from the law of good, but an echo of anxiety. Peace is the seal of authenticity. Second, timeliness. The sign always comes at the right time, neither early nor late. Sometimes you may wait for days or months, believing nothing is happening, but in the very moment you need it most, a suggestion appears, a door opens. Timeliness does not follow your schedule, but that of infinite intelligence. And when it arrives, you will see that all the elements were already in place, like puzzle pieces fitting together perfectly. Third, the greater good for all. A true sign does not benefit only you. It aligns with the well-being of those involved. It does not harm, burden, or create loss. It always opens a path of goodness, where you and others are uplifted together. This is a crucial standard for discerning between an ego-driven impulse and divine direction. There was a businessman who prayed for guidance in a critical partnership decision. Each night, he sat in stillness. After several days, a clear thought emerged, nudging him to reconnect with an old friend. Upon following that prompting, he discovered a new opportunity through that very connection. Not only was his business saved, but the friend also found a new direction. The sign had brought collective benefit, arrived in perfect timing, and came with peace. This was a living example of how the law of good delivers guidance. Waiting for the sign requires the practice of patience. Patience is not passive suffering. It is a state of trust in the unfolding of the invisible process. Just as a farmer does not stand in the field all day watching the seed sprout, you do not need to obsessively check. You need only to remain in gratitude and readiness. When the sign comes, you will recognize it, and you need only to move forward. Obedience and simplicity is the key. Mani hesitate overanalyze or doubt, and in doing so, they miss the opening. But true guidance often appears as a simple action. Call this person, write that letter, go to this place, read that book. These seemingly small steps often open great doors. Infinite intelligence does not need to shout in thunder to lead you. It often uses a whisper, and it is through that gentle obedience that the chain of events leading to your result begins. A woman once longed for reconciliation with her sister. After years of silence, each night she prayed with gratitude. One night, she dreamed of a small gift. Upon waking, she felt a quiet nudge to buy that gift and send it. She followed the prompting without overthinking. Days later, a thank you letter arrived from her sister, opening the door to healing. The sign came with peace, perfect timing, and mutual blessing. Through simple obedience, the relationship was restored. Waiting for the sign and obeying it completes the entire method. It transforms affirmation and gratitude from spiritual practices into tangible experiences. It is the bridge between the unseen and the seen, and in this step, you learn that you are not alone, that you are being guided step by step, that life is a current of goodness, and your part is to stay in harmony. As you practice, keep a small notebook to record the signs. These may be ideas, meetings, dreams, or simply deep peace upon making a decision. Writing them down helps you notice patterns and understand how infinite intelligence communicates with you. Over time, your faith will grow stronger because you will see that every sign leads to order and blessing. And remember, the sign may not arrive the moment you wish. At times, you must wait. At times, You are called to patience. But that patience is not wasted. In that space, you are being trained to remain in peace and gratitude. And when the time is right, the sign will come with such clarity that you cannot miss it. To wait for the sign and obey it in simplicity is the art of living under divine guidance. It teaches humility, for you no longer demand life to bend to your will. It teaches trust, for that infinite intelligence always acts for good. And it teaches love, for all true guidance brings good to all. This step draws you into the living current of life, where all things unfold in peace, in perfect timing, and in the light of the greater good. The nightly imagination workshop and the final scene practice lasting 60 to 90 seconds, the silent growth of the seed. Each night, just before falling asleep, the mind walks through a sacred doorway. That doorway leads directly into the subconscious, where the last image you hold is recorded as a command. In that very moment, you possess the power to shape tomorrow. This is why Joseph Murphy called it the nightly imagination workshop, the place where you and infinite intelligence collaborate to design your reality. To enter this workshop, you don't need much time, just 60 to 90 seconds of holding a final completed scene, and the subconscious will receive it as truth. Imagine you desire vibrant health. Don't waste time thinking about symptoms or treatment paths. Instead, construct a final scene in your mind, one where you are smiling in full health, walking with ease, your heart filled with joy. Hold that image for less than 2 minutes and let it fade into sleep. The subconscious will begin construction according to the blueprint you delivered, without debate or hesitation, simply obeying. This principle is just like planting a seed. The farmer does not need to understand what happens beneath the soil. He simply knows that once the seed is planted, it will sprout in silence. In the same way, when you visualize a final completed scene and let it fall into sleep, you have planted the seed in the soil of the subconscious. You do not need to wake up in the middle of the night to check. You do not need to doubt. Trust that the process is unfolding, and in due season, the green shoot will emerge from the ground. The nightly imagination workshop is not a place for analysis or reasoning. It does not require detailed plans or step-by-step instructions. It only requires a single, clear, completed scene. If you seek a new job, picture yourself receiving the good news, or already thriving in a joyful work environment. If you desire harmony in your family, imagine a peaceful dinner with laughter around the table. If you seek abundance, imagine yourself giving thanks because all your needs are met. The final scene is the seed, and whatever seed is planted will yield its own kind. There was a man entangled in a legal case that seemed hopeless. Every night, he went to bed with anxiety and woke up with tension. Upon receiving guidance, he began spending just 60 seconds before sleep visualizing the scene in which he received news that the case had been resolved peacefully. He felt the joy, the relief, and entered sleep with that image. Weeks later, an unexpected solution arrived, and the case was settled harmoniously. He realized he had planted the seed, and the subconscious had silently completed the rest. The most important element in this practice is consistency. Do not change the scene constantly. Do not complicate it. Just hold one simple, clear image and repeat it nightly. A single image repeated faithfully carries more power than hours of scattered visualization. The subconscious does not require complexity. It only requires clarity and repetition, like a drop of water that wears through stone. A final image consistently planted can break down every wall of limitation. When you step into this workshop, remember it is not only a mental act, but a heartfelt one. Let emotion participate. Let joy and gratitude saturate the image. When you feel joy as if it has already happened, when you feel gratitude as if it is already received, you open the deepest door of the subconscious. At that moment, the image is no longer a mere thought. It becomes a creative command. This is the power of voice within, not a voice you hear, but a space you return to. This inner voice does not speak in sound, but in presence. It is the sanctuary you visit each night, where you listen to the quiet and allow life-giving images to sink in. The more often you return, the more you realize this is the soul's true home, where the law of good works naturally and without interruption. The nightly imagination workshop also teaches you a great lesson in trust. For when you visualize and allow the image to fall into sleep, you must learn to let go. You cannot control the dream. You cannot force the subconscious. You can only trust that the invisible process is working, and it is this very trust that frees you from anxiety. It brings you into rest, where the creative power is free to work without resistance. Consider this a sacred nightly ritual. Turn off the lights, lay down your worries, close your eyes, and let the final scene emerge. Hold it for 60 to 90 seconds. Let your emotions flood it. Let gratitude soak into every cell. Then sleep in peace, like the farmer who rests, knowing that harvest will surely come. And when you wake, continue living in the spirit of gratitude, knowing that the seed you planted last night is still growing in silence. No wall is thick enough to stop a determined seed from sprouting. No circumstance is strong enough to block an image that has taken root in the subconscious. Therefore, treat the nightly imagination workshop with reverence. Let it become the place you return to. Night after night, sowing beautiful seeds, and soon you will witness the entire garden of your life begin to change. The imagination workshop is the bridge between desire and reality, between the visible and the invisible. It is the place where you will learn to plant, to trust, and to endure. And once you have mastered this sacred practice, you will know that every miracle begins in silence, where mind and subconscious meet in a single image, a single word of gratitude, and an unwavering trust that the law of good is working without end. Proactive gratitude is the antidote to fear. The morning and evening 3-line journal and real-life testimonies of transformation. Fear is a thick fog that clouds your vision, making you forget that the sun of truth still shines behind the mist. Nothing paralyzes the mind faster than anxiety and the imagined catastrophes it constructs. But there exists an antidote that has already been given to us. Proactive gratitude. When fear tries to bind you, gratitude opens a way out. When the mind imagines tragic futures that have not happened, gratitude brings you back to the present, where the power of good is already at work. Gratitude is not a polite reaction. It is a life force, a spiritual command capable of reversing the flow of thought. To practice proactive gratitude means you do not wait for results before giving thanks. You give thanks in advance, as if your desire has already been fulfilled. That kind of gratitude is the highest act of faith, because it declares that good already exists, even when the senses have not yet confirmed it. Whenever anxiety rises, immediately replace it with gratitude. Thank you for the peace that is already present. Thank you for the solution that is making its way. Thank you that all things are moving in divine order. In that moment, fear has no place to stand, for the two states cannot coexist. A simple yet powerful tool to cultivate this habit is the 3-line morning and evening journal. Each morning upon waking, write down 3 things you are grateful for, whether small or not yet visible. It could be gratitude for a new day, for the breath of life, or for opportunities that have not yet arrived but you believe are on the way Each night before sleep, write another 3 lines, capturing things from your day that you are grateful for, including challenges, because you trust that hidden within them are lessons. This rhythm, morning and night, acts like a double heartbeat pumping fresh blood of faith and peace into your mind. There was a mother who suffered greatly because her family had lost their jobs and their finances were depleted. Instead of complaining, she began writing her 3-line journal. In the morning she wrote, "Thank you for the food we have today. Thank you for the doors that are opening. Thank you that my husband is finding the right job." In the evening, she wrote, "Thank you for the peaceful family meal. Thank you for the friend who visited and encouraged me. Thank you for the peace I felt during prayer." Within weeks, the atmosphere in her home changed. Fear turned into hope. Not long after, her husband was offered a job exactly as desired, with better conditions than before. She said, "The miracle did not begin out there. It began in the pages I wrote each day." Another example was a businessman facing what seemed like an unfavorable lawsuit. Instead of being consumed by worst-case scenarios, he started his gratitude journal. "Thank you that justice is at work. Thank you that a peaceful resolution is coming. Thank you that everything is in God's hands." Within weeks, an unexpected solution arrived, and the case ended in a smooth agreement. He later admitted the real strategy wasn't legal. It was replacing worry with gratitude. This practice works because it changes the frequency of the mind. Complaining locks the door. Gratitude flings it wide open. Anxiety pulls you downward. Gratitude lifts you higher. When you are grateful, the subconscious receives the signal that good already exists and immediately begins arranging circumstances to reflect that truth. This is not magical thinking. It is the natural law of consciousness. Just as a seed needs fertile soil to grow, every solution only needs the climate of gratitude to take form. More importantly, the 3-line journal trains you in consistency. Many people are grateful only when something visibly good happens, but the strongest gratitude is expressed in the darkness. When you thank life before the results show up, you are planting seeds of faith, and those seeds grow into miracles. There is an old saying, "He who gives thanks before receiving shall receive double." And in real life, it is often those who give thanks when nothing seems to happen who witness the most astonishing breakthroughs. So let proactive gratitude be your antidote to all fear. Use your pen as a sacred key. Write each morning and evening 3 lines of gratitude that are short yet powerful. Let each page soak into your subconscious like seeds being sown into the soil. Soon, you will see the climate of your spirit shift. And when the climate changes, so will the harvest. No darkness can outlast the light of gratitude. No fear is strong enough to bind a mind that has learned to give thanks before seeing results. And when gratitude becomes your natural reflex, you will live in a new flow, where fear dissolves and trust and peace become the atmosphere you carry through life. The scientific prayer for divine guidance, listening to intuition, recording inner nudges, and discerning true impulses from false ones. There are moments when one stands at a crossroads, looking around and seeing nothing but fog. The mind longs to know which direction to take, yet logic collides with countless possibilities, leaving only confusion behind. In such a moment, scientific prayer becomes the compass. It is not a cry of desperation, but a disciplined act, an orderly way to open the inner door and receive guidance from infinite intelligence. Scientific prayer begins by stilling the waves of thought. You cannot hear the whisper of intuition if the mind remains noisy. 1 minute of deep breathing, closed eyes, the release of tension, and a gentle inner request. Father, let your will be made clear. In doing so, you create a space of reception. Intuition is the language used by infinite intelligence to communicate. It is never loud or forceful, but often arrives as a subtle thought, a distinct feeling, a calm in the heart when thinking of a particular path. But recognizing it requires practice. This is why journaling becomes essential. Each time you finish praying and feel a nudge, write it down immediately, no matter how small, trivial, or seemingly irrational it may seem. By recording it, you show respect to the inner voice time and again. What once appeared vague becomes the key that unlocks the solution. However, not all impulses come from true intuition. Discernment is needed. True nudges come with peace, clarity, and no sense of rush. They feel like morning sunlight gently touching the earth, warm and unhurried. False impulses, by contrast, are urgent, anxious, and driven by the fear of missing out. If a thought creates tension or pressure, pause and wait. Divine guidance never arrives through chaos, but always through the stillness of the heart. In ministry, many have shared how just one phrase, one image, changed the course of their lives after a sincere moment of prayer. One person, stuck in a career crisis, saw a clear image of an old friend after praying. They reached out, and that very connection led to a new opportunity. Another dreamed of a radiant door, and upon waking knew they had to end a draining relationship in order to step into a new chapter. These moments are not coincidences, but voices from the deeper realm where God plants the seeds of guidance. Have you ever had such a moment when in unexpected stillness a thought arose with such peace and clarity? It felt as though someone was gently leading you. If so, share it with me, for your presence in this journey brings these stories to life and gives them deeper meaning. As you practice scientific prayer, remember 3 steps. First, quiet the mind. Second, affirm that guidance is already present. Third, listen and write. You do not need elaborate pleas. A simple statement is enough. I know you are guiding me. Thank you that the path is clear. Then remain open. Sometimes the answer doesn't arrive immediately, but within a few days, through a conversation, a dream, or a coincidence, you will recognize it. Your intuition journal is a treasure. When you review it after a week or a month, you will be amazed to see a continuous stream of guidance, like puzzle pieces forming a clear picture. You will realize life has never abandoned you. It has been whispering all along, waiting for you to be still enough to hear. Scientific prayer removes the confusion at the crossroads. It affirms you are never alone, that a higher wisdom is co-authoring your story. And as you learn to listen, you will take firmer steps, no longer guided by fear or impulse, but by the inner light. This is the art of collaborating with infinite intelligence, a simple yet profound practice that can redirect your entire life with nothing more than a whisper. Forgiveness as the purification of the receiving channel with the release formula and the prayer for a clean heart to let goodness flow freely. No river can flow freely if its bed is clogged with mud. No light can enter a room when the windows are covered in dust. In the same way, no current of goodness can move unhindered through the mind when it is blocked by resentment. Anger, or the desire for revenge, forgiveness, therefore, is not merely a moral act or a gracious gesture, but a spiritual principle for purifying the channel of reception, releasing energy, and clearing the path for goodness to operate without obstruction. People often misunderstand forgiveness as condoning or overlooking the mistakes of others. In truth, forgiveness does not mean agreeing with the wrongdoing, nor does it mean forgetting the pain that was caused. Forgiveness is the act of withdrawing the negative energy you have bound to another person or event. It is the process of setting yourself free from the prison built by memory. When you cling to resentment, you bind yourself to the past and unconsciously reject the blessings trying to flow into your present. A simple yet profoundly effective release formula passed down by spiritual masters is this affirmation: I release you into the hands of God. I let go and bless you with good, just as I am blessed with good. This affirmation is not only for others, but for yourself. How many times have we tormented ourselves over our own mistakes? The refusal to forgive oneself becomes one of the greatest inner blockages. When you repeat this release formula, you are loosening the knot, opening the receiving channel for light to enter. In spiritual ministry, there have been many cases prolonged over years simply due to a knot of resentment. A woman had been praying for prosperity but saw no change. When encouraged to begin with forgiveness, she reluctantly practiced it. Each night, she closed her eyes and whispered, I release you into the hands of God. I bless you with peace. At first, the words felt forced, but gradually her mind softened. In time, not only was the relationship restored, but her financial situation also shifted. She realized that the blockage was never in the circumstance, but in the inner flow being obstructed. The prayer for a clean heart is a sacred invocation recorded from ancient times. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. This is not merely a plea, but a powerful affirmation that the mind can be cleansed, that the current of energy can become transparent. Once again, a clean heart is like a polished mirror, faithfully reflecting the light of divine law. Without distortion, without cloudiness, forgiveness is the most powerful act of liberation. It breaks the invisible chains of memory, melts the layers of ice covering the soul. A mind that does not forgive is like compacted soil. Rain cannot penetrate, seeds cannot sprout, but when forgiveness comes, the soil is tilled, the canals are cleared, and the waters of blessing begin to pour in. Remember that forgiveness is not a fleeting feeling, but a decision repeated. You may speak the release formula today and feel no relief, but if you persist, little by little, the chains will dissolve every time an old memory resurfaces. Instead of feeding it, repeat the affirmation: I release you into the hands of God. I let go and bless all with good. This is a spiritual ritual, and this ritual is the key to unlocking doors long sealed. When you forgive, you do not only release the other person, you release yourself. You open the path for health to return, for joy to be rekindled, for opportunities to rush in. Modern psychology confirms that forgiveness reduces stress, strengthens the immune system, and brings inner peace. But beyond all research, forgiveness is an unchanging spiritual principle. A pure mind is always a clear channel for receiving good. Let forgiveness become part of your daily journey. Each night, before sleep, take 1 minute to gently affirm, create in me a clean heart. Help me to release all resentment so that goodness may flow freely through me. Consider this a daily window cleaning so that the light is never blocked. When the light floods in, you will see all things clearly, and you will realize that blessings were never absent. They were simply waiting for you to open the channel. Forgiveness, in its deepest sense, is cooperation with the law of good. It is the act of restoring divine order, of returning the mind to its original state of love and peace. And when you learn to forgive, you will find that life is no longer a long chain of wounds, but a continuous river of healing, where every experience, whether painful or sweet, serves to purify and expand the heart, applying the principles to work, finances, and the door of opportunity with clear definition. Gratitude, surrender, inspired action, and the cycle of giving. In the realm of work and finances, people are easily swept into the whirlpool of lack, anxiety, and struggle. They believe that wealth comes only from luck, connections, or relentless effort. But the deeper truth lies in this. Work and finances are merely reflections of the inner state. When the inner world is clear, peaceful, and filled with gratitude, the outer world responds with matching opportunities and resources. When the inner world is vague, anxious, and fearful, the outer world shuts down. Therefore, applying the four-step method and the giving cycle in this area becomes the doorway to lasting prosperity. It all begins with clear definition. Many people pray for jobs or financial breakthrough, but their requests are vague. They say they want money, but never define what purpose that money will serve. They wish for a job, but have no idea what the right work truly means. A vague mind produces vague results. You must write down a clear definition of the work or finances you desire, not a fantasy, but a positive, specific, and present tense image. Write, I give thanks for the right work that has come to me, bringing joy, abundance, and value to others. Or, I give thanks that my finances are abundant enough to support my family, share with others, and serve meaningful purposes. This clarity is the seed you plant into the subconscious. The next step is gratitude. Gratitude, not after the money arrives or the job is offered, but the moment you write down your desire. Gratitude before results appear is the highest act of faith. Affirming that what you seek already exists in the invisible, gratitude turns your mind into fertile ground. Each morning and evening, write down 3 lines of thanksgiving related to finances and work. Thank you that I am being guided. Thank you that doors are opening. Thank you that abundance is present. Now, this practice is like a stream that continually waters the seed, allowing it to grow in silence. Surrender is the release from the burden of control. In finances and work, people often make the mistake of trying to control every detail, demanding that results happen in the way they imagine. But when you grip too tightly, your hand is no longer open to receive. Surrender means you do your part, prepare your resume, improve your skills, seek out opportunities, but you let go of the obsession with outcome. You offer the prayer, Father, I place this matter in your hands. Open the right door at the right time, and in that moment, the burden falls away and peace enters in its place. Inspired action is the proof of your faith. Opportunities do not always arrive as formal invitations or large numbers in your account. They might appear as a chance meeting, a sudden thought, or an email that seems ordinary. If you are alert, you will recognize these as divine signals. And once recognized, your job is to act immediately. No need for noise, no need for hesitation. Just take the step. One phone call may lead to a major contract. One small meeting may unfold into long-term partnership. These signs usually come wrapped in simplicity and peace. And it is your obedience to them that unlocks the door. The giving cycle is the secret to sustaining abundance. Finances are not a stagnant pond, but a flowing river. If you only keep, the water stagnates. If you share, the river stays full. Build the habit of noting what you give, whether money, time, or a kind act. It does not have to be grand, only heartfelt. When you give, you declare that you live in sufficiency, and that very declaration opens new streams. Remember, giving is not losing, it is creating space for more to arrive. There was once a businessman who had fallen into financial ruin, yet he kept the habit of helping someone daily, sometimes with a kind word, sometimes with a small gift. In his journal, he wrote, "Today I gave, and I thank life for the abundance in my hands." Not long after, he received an unexpected offer that not only saved his business, but elevated him to greater prosperity. He understood that the giving cycle is the secret to abundance. This is the power of the voice within, not just a voice you hear, but a space to which you return. The inner voice reminds you that every resource, every opportunity does not come from the outside, but flows from within. When you return to that space, you realize abundance is not a battle, but a divine arrangement, and to let it flow, you only need clear definition, gratitude, surrender, inspired action, and the cycle of giving. When these principles are applied, work and finances no longer feel like a burden, but become a reflection of faith and peace. Every opportunity you receive, every resource that opens, is proof that the law of good is operating with precision, and the more you give thanks, the more you give of yourself, the more you live in an unbroken stream of prosperity, where every door opens in time and in the right place. Applying the principles to the body, sleep, and family harmony through healing words, harmonious imagery, and the discipline of peace. The body is a faithful mirror of the mind. Every cell, every organ, every drop of blood listens to and obeys the commands issued by both the conscious and subconscious mind. If your mind is filled with fear, doubt, and complaints, the body will instantly reflect that through weakness, disorder, and disease. But if you know how to plant healing words and visualize images of restoration, the body will automatically begin to reorganize itself toward health and renewal. This is not fantasy. It is the governing principle of mind and body in unity. Begin with healing words. Each morning and night, as you look in the mirror, speak gently but powerfully to your body. I am thankful that my body is healthy and full of energy. I give thanks that every cell within me functions in perfect order. These words, repeated with consistency, are not mere sounds. They become electric currents sent into the subconscious. The subconscious does not argue. It simply obeys. And if you persist, it will bring those words into visible reality. Parallel to spoken words is the power of imagery. Before sleep, imagine yourself waking up refreshed, walking lightly, breathing deeply and clearly. Or if you are seeking the healing of a specific organ, picture it bathed in radiant light, functioning fully and perfectly. This image will enter the subconscious during sleep and become the blueprint for the body to carry out in silence. Words are commands. Images are architectural plans. And the body is the obedient structure. Sleep is the greatest regeneration workshop God has given. When you sleep with worry, the body works in confusion and rebuilds in chaos. But when you sleep in peace, the entire system follows a sacred order. Therefore, before closing your eyes, present the right blueprint to your subconscious, a short prayer. Thank you, Father, for this sleep that restores every part of my being. And hold one last image of yourself, waking in the morning light, strong and well. In that moment, You have planted a seed, and the seed will sprout silently in the night. This same principle applies to family harmony. A family is a living environment where every word and thought becomes an energy that spreads. If complaints are constant, the atmosphere becomes heavy. But if each day is watered with words of gratitude and love, harmony will return. Words in the family must be used as medicine, not as weapons. A gentle word can heal, while a harsh word can leave a wound that lingers. Train yourself to plant images of harmony in the home. Before meals, imagine everyone gathered with kind eyes and joyful laughter. Before entering the house, silently affirm, "The peace of God fills this home." When conflict arises, instead of letting the mind draw scenes of confrontation, visualize reconciliation, a handshake, a hug, a smile. That image is a seed, and the subconscious will find a way to make it real. The discipline of peace is the foundation of all application. The body needs discipline in rest and thought to recover. The family needs discipline in words and images to maintain harmony. Emotions will not always align, but discipline is the rudder that keeps the boat on course. Each time the mind wants to complain, replace it with a blessing. Each time a picture of conflict arises, replace it with a vision of peace. Repeat it persistently, and peace will become the default atmosphere. There was a mother whose household was constantly filled with tension and discord. She began to change the way she spoke, replacing complaints with thankfulness. Before sleeping, she visualized the whole family sitting joyfully together. Within weeks, the atmosphere began to change. Her children started cooperating, and laughter returned to the meals. She realized that circumstances had not magically changed her mind, had redrawn the picture and led the family into a new order. There was also a man who suffered from years of insomnia. Instead of worrying as he lay down, he developed the habit of a short prayer and visualizing himself waking up in good health the next morning. Or Time, his sleep deepened and his body recovered swiftly. He understood that the secret did not lie in more medicine, but in planting the right seed before sleep. The body and the family, two seemingly separate realms, in truth operate by the same law. Words are medicine, images are blueprints, and the discipline of peace is the climate. When you learn to use them, you will find your body regaining strength, your sleep becoming restful, and your family living in harmony. And from this foundation, all other areas of life will begin to transform, for you will have learned how to cooperate with the law of good through the most intimate spaces of life. When nothing seems to happen, persist with gratitude. The 30-day doubling rule and warnings against hasty mistakes. With a final word on trust, there are times when you have practiced every principle, when you have clearly defined your desire, sown the images, surrendered in faith, waited for signs, and yet everything on the outside seems silent. This is the point where many give up, believing the method does not work. But the truth is that every seed needs a silent period underground before it sprouts. That silence is not failure, but fermentation, the winter that nourishes the roots before spring arrives. It is in this stage that unwavering gratitude becomes the decisive key. Gratitude, when you see results, is natural. But gratitude, when nothing is visible, is true power. It is a bold declaration that you believe in the law of good, that what you have planted has already begun to sprout, even if your eyes cannot yet see it. A grateful heart in darkness is a lamp that guides the way, keeping the mind from falling into the pit of doubt. And when you keep that lamp lit, the light will spread until the dawn finally breaks. The 30-day doubling rule is a practice to train this kind of faith for 30 consecutive days, morning and evening. Write at least 3 lines of gratitude, not only for what you already have, but for the things you are still waiting for. Thank you for the job that came at the perfect time. Thank you for the health that has been restored. Thank you for my family living in harmony. This repetition creates a rhythm like a persistent stream flowing through hardened soil until it breaks open into a spring. If you are consistent, your mind will begin to change its climate, and a new climate will yield a new harvest. During this process, the most important thing is to avoid hasty mistakes. Many, not seeing immediate results, begin switching methods constantly, praying one way today and trying another tomorrow. They are like a farmer who digs up the seed every day to check if it has sprouted. This impatience disrupts the process. The subconscious needs consistency and stability, not chaos. Another mistake is to count the days in worry, constantly wondering when the desired result will appear. That is sowing seeds without believing in the harvest, and it delays the harvest altogether. You must understand that there are processes only God can see. A tree cannot bear fruit until its roots are strong enough. Every external manifestation must go through a period of internal maturity. When you trust and give thanks, you are nurturing that invisible stage, and when the timing is right, the result will appear faster and more unexpectedly than you imagined. Many have witnessed this truth. Some have practiced the 30-day gratitude rule with no sign of change throughout. Yet on the 31st day, they received a call that changed everything. Some prayed for a loved one's health and persisted in daily gratitude, only to wake up one ordinary morning to the news of a miraculous recovery. These stories reveal that the law of good never breaks its promise. It simply operates by its own rhythm, a rhythm we must learn to respect. The final word of this entire journey is summed up in one word: trust. Trust is not passivity. It is not sitting idle doing nothing. Trust means you have done your part thoroughly, and now you allow infinite intelligence to do its part. Trust means you hold on to gratitude persistently, like a flowing stream that wears down the wall. Trust means you do not let urgency or doubt shake your spirit, because, the good you seek already exists, and it will appear in its proper season. Let gratitude become your breath, even on the most ordinary days. Write it, repeat it, believe it. When you persist in this way, you are building an unshakable spiritual habit. And once that habit is formed, every area of your life will transform. Your work, your finances, your health, your family, even your deepest dreams, all will begin to reflect the new state of your mind. When nothing seems to happen, that is, when everything is quietly happening, believe in the harvest. Persist in gratitude, and let trust lead you to the day of full ripening, for this law has never failed, and it has never forgotten anyone. As you come to the end of this journey, remember that true power has always resided within you. Every step you take is a seed, and perseverance and gratitude is the rain, the sunlight, and the fertile soil that allows those seeds to grow. Even when nothing seems to change on the outside, keep planting, keep writing, keep giving. Thanks. The law of good is always at work, and infinite intelligence always responds to hearts that are patient and trusting. Let each morning be a new chance to sow. Let each evening be sealed with gratitude, and each passing day will stand as proof that you are a co-creator with the universe, with infinite power. A life of peace, abundance, and radiant light is waiting for you to step into it.